When the last echo of her scream faded, Pandora sat before the box for hours, motionless. The air was heavy, and every breath tasted of loss. The garden, once eternal, now seemed smaller, quieter. Epimetheus stood nearby, his anger uncertain. How do you punish someone for a curiosity that's part of being alive? He looked at her and saw a truth even the gods had missed. She hadn't opened the box out of malice, but out of a deep longing to understand what the gods refused to explain. He sighed, the words heavy. You have undone the world. Pandora lifted her eyes, not with guilt, but with a strange clarity. No, she replied, I have shown it what it was meant to be. She looked at the wilting flowers, the trembling air. They were meant to live, too, she whispered. Even sorrow needs a home. Epimetheus wanted to argue, but her words felt too solid to break. High above, the gods watched in silence. The world was noisy again, but it was a different kind of noise, laughter mixed with grief, creation mixed with decay. Life, in all its new imperfection, had begun. Days passed, and mortals began to feel what had been hidden. Hunger gnawed at their bellies. Age carved slow marks on their faces. Death whispered at the edges of every joy. Yet, with every hardship came something unexpected: resilience. When pain came, they learned to heal. When loss came, they learned to remember. When darkness grew, they learned to create light. Hermes, watching from the clouds, smiled. They are learning faster than we expected. Ares grumbled, they are weak. Then why, Hermes countered, do they keep standing up? The gods had no answer. Mortals had been given despair, and had somehow forged it into strength. It was as if the box hadn't cursed them, but awakened them. Still, guilt clung to Pandora like smoke. She would whisper apologies to her reflection in rivers, but it never forgave her. Mortals began to tell stories about the woman who had doomed them, painting her as foolish and dangerous. The name Pandora became a caution, a warning. She listened to their stories and said nothing. But when she walked through villages, mothers smiled at her without knowing why. Children laughed louder. Hope followed her, an invisible, faithful companion. She realized that while the gods saw her as a mistake, humanity had turned her into something else at beginning. One evening, as she sat by a fire, the faint golden light that had escaped the box appeared before her, pulsing like a heartbeat. Why did you stay? She asked it. The light flickered, and a voice without words spoke in her mind, because the world needed balance. Pandora watched it rise and fall with her breath. They curse me for opening the box. Of course, Hope replied, they always curse the ones who reveal the truth. But when their tears dry, they will thank you. She smiled faintly. That may take a while. I have time, said Hope. The light drifted into her chest, dissolving into warmth. The burden was still there, but now it finally made sense. High on Olympus, Zeus sat in quiet thought, a rare thing for him to do without thunder. The other gods chattered endlessly, but he barely heard them. Hermes approached cautiously. You are troubled, Father. Zeus frowned. They blame her for what we planned. That was the point, wasn't it? Hermes asked. Yes, Zeus admitted. But now I see mortals praying not just out of fear, but out of gratitude. Even when they curse us, they thank her. Hermes grinned. That is what happens when you let mortals feel. They turn suffering into story. Zeus was silent for a long moment, then murmured, perhaps that is their revenge. As years passed, the story of Pandora spread. Poets sang of her as both curse and blessing. Philosophers debated whether curiosity was a flaw or the spark of progress. Farmers whispered her name before planting, believing that even the soil remembered her hands. Hope became the secret prayer in every heart, lingering behind every act of courage, every invention, every song. Humanity had learned the divine lesson without realizing it. The gods had given them more than punishment. They had given them meaning. As Hermes once told Athena, they call her foolish, yet they build temples for her. Athena replied, then she is wiser than both of us. One day, long after the world had filled with stories, Pandora returned to Olympus. She stood before Zeus. You made me to test mankind, she said. But I think you tested yourself. Zeus studied her. Do you regret it? No, she said firmly. Do you? For the first time, Zeus had no answer. He just nodded slowly. You may go where you wish. The world is yours as much as ours now. As she turned to leave, Hera spoke softly. Tell them, when they curse your name, that even gods envy such courage. Pandora simply bowed. I will tell them nothing. They already know. And she walked back into the mortal world, where stories were waiting. Centuries passed. Humanity forgot her face, but not her lesson. Every time curiosity opened a door, every time invention rewrote the rules, Pandora's shadow lingered. When explorers set sail into the unknown, when scholars pursued forbidden knowledge, when hearts loved despite the risk, it was her echo whispering, open it. In later ages, stories said Pandora finally met Prometheus on a lonely mountain. You gave them fire, she said. I gave them consequence. Prometheus smiled, tired but proud. Then together, we gave them freedom. Fire lights the path, but your gift makes the journey worth taking. On Olympus, only Athena truly understood. Zeus wanted control. She told Hermes. He ended up creating will. Hermes replied, every time they curse her name, they still act like her. They open, they question, they risk. She didn't break the world. She started it. They looked down at the earth below, fragile and unstoppable. Hope remained quiet and constant. It hid in lullabies and in the way hands hold each other during storms. Whenever mortals lost everything, hope whispered again. And they did. Pandora became the myth that explained why humans never stopped trying. If the box had stayed closed, we might have lived forever, but we would have never truly lived. In her final days, she watched a fire and whispered, perhaps I did not break the world. Perhaps I just opened it. The gods still argue about her. Some say she was the first sin, others the first saint. But every time a human looks at the stars, invents a cure, or forgives someone who hurt them, Pandora's box opens just a little again. Not to unleash more suffering, but to remind us that even imperfection is divine when it dares to hope. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this retelling, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more stories like this. See you next time.